The seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism is to respect the interdependent web of which we're a part. Interdependence is a relationship that evolves over time. It evolves from symbiosis to dependence to independence to interdependence. Imagine a pregnant woman. This is a symbiotic relationship. The fetus is totally enmeshed within the mother. The lives are entwined. There's no separation. The baby eats when the mother eats. After birth, the relationship changes. The baby is separate but totally dependent upon the mother for food, warmth, and comfort. The baby takes and takes and takes. As toddlers, our parents are like gods, all-knowing and all-powerful, dispensers of grace, providers of punishment, unquestionable authority. As children grow, they take less and less and question more and more. Around adolescence, they refuse to take advice, but they still want to take the car. Adulthood, to many, means that one is on one's own. A child dreams of the time that they will grow up and not to have to take nothing from nobody. This is the fantasy of adulthood. Real adulthood occurs when we realize we are interdependent. We take and we give and we take. We have rights and responsibilities. To weave the web, we need the warp and the weft. What we take from our parents, we give to our children who visit their grandparents to take a vacation from us. The history of humanity has evolved along the same path. As hunter-gatherers, we were symbiotic with nature. There was no distinction between nature and humanity. We knew we were part of the food chain, competing with bears for fish and berries. We ate small animals and we ran or hid from big ones. We competed with monkeys for the fruit in the trees. We were too busy surviving to worry much about God. Early cave paintings are about hunting and survival. When we learned agriculture, we became dependent. We learned the patterns of nature and we came to rely on them. We built fences to separate other predators from our prey. We separated what we called weeds from what we called food. Mother Earth and Father Sky became our gods. And we searched for the right techniques to please them. Because although climate is predictable, weather is capricious. So we were constantly worried about what we did right or did wrong to make Mother Earth and Father Sky be pleased with us. But as we learned, as technology grew, we became more independent. We relied more on procedure and less on prayer. If the winter was too cold, we made warmer houses. If the summer was too hot, we air-conditioned them. If the mountain was too high, we tunneled through it. If the valley too low, we built a bridge. The gods of antiquity faded into the background, and now we worship the gods of economic power and capital. In agricultural times, the tallest building in any town were cathedrals, pagodas, temples, and mosques. The homes of the gods have long been in the shadows of the skyscrapers of industry and finance. From San Francisco to Singapore, from Tokyo to Tel Aviv, from Dubai to downtown Manhattan. Our profane present looks down with disdain upon the sacred path. Our cities create their own weather patterns. Our quest for power is changing the climate. For several centuries of the industrial age, we have been living the adolescent fantasy of independence. We act as if we do not need the earth. We have taken her for granted. But humanity is starting to evolve into true adulthood. More and more people are entering into an intentionally reciprocal relationship with the earth. When children discover that their parents are not gods, first they feel anger, betrayal, disappointment. Then they use that anger to set themselves free. Around here we call that Grand Prix weekend. Humanity has treated the earth with disdain in the vain attempt to free themselves from depending on the earth. Science was used as a tool to free us from the clutches of religion. But when adolescents become adults, they forgive their parents for not being gods and start seeing their elders as people even more sacred and precious. The purpose of science is not to disprove religion. The purpose of religion is not to keep people ignorant. The purpose of both should be to build relationships between people and the universe. Religion is poetry and science is prose. We should not expect one to do the work of the other. Love makes the world go round. This poetry is true. The prose version of truth involves gravity, velocity, plus some mathematics. When we think of a web, we think of the threads that hold it together. Science is the theory of strings that hold the universe together. But a web is also defined by the spaces in between the strings. That indefinable quality is religion and is just as real. The Christian apostle Paul wrote to the Corinthians, "Because we look not at what can be seen, but at what cannot be seen. For what can be seen is temporary, but what cannot be seen is eternal." And this is also captured in other agricultural religions, religions that tended to anthropomorphize nature, but at times this glimpse of the invisible peeked through. In the Quran, in Islam, no vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is above all comprehension, yet acquainted with all things. And in China, the Tao Te Ching, the way that can be spoken of is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. You look at it, but it is not seen. Its name is formless. You listen to it, but it is not heard. Its name is soundless. You grab it, but it is not to be held. Its name is bodiless. These three elude all scrutiny. I remember when I met a man, his name was Bob Bearfield. He joined the UU Church in Winston-Salem soon after I was called. He was retired from academia. Early in his career, he had been a Methodist minister. He quit the ministry not because of a crisis of faith, but because he thought his denomination was moving too slow on civil rights. He was from Americus, Georgia, and knew Jimmy Carter and built homes with him at the founding of the Habitat for Humanity movement. And we had many discussions around this issue that he told me when he signed the membership book. He told me something like this: "The interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part is God. Most UUs won't see it. Those who do probably won't admit it. But I'm glad it's there in your principles because it helps me know that I will be more welcome here than most Christian churches. Because most of them don't know that God is the interdependent web of all existence." Since those conversations with Bob, who has since passed, but I still feel very connected to him, I no longer see the web as just the human connection to nature. It helps me see that all that has been called sacred or profane are ultimately connected. In these contentious times, I find myself being hateful of hateful people. And I realize that I am connected to them in ways I do not want to be. We share a tribalism of primitive humanity that robs us of our individuality, which prevents interpersonal relationships. I see some political signs, and I want to take them down, just like people took down our Black Lives Matter sign. I keep myself from doing it, but that doesn't mean I don't share that same feeling. I want to blot some ideas from the face of the earth. And I think I might be satisfied if some people were just not here. I want to cut them off and be independent of them. But I have to find the wisdom to become interdependent. If I try to blot them from the face of the earth, I become the evil I abhor. So I have to learn to love the enemy as myself, or I become an enemy to myself. I must love the enemy as myself because we are part of the same interdependent web. May we bless and be blessed.